My guests are Alex Bhathal and Lisa Bhathal Merage. They are the owners of the three-time NWSL champion Portland Thorns and the expansion Portland Fire of the WNBA. Alex and Lisa, thanks for joining me on Sports Business Radio. How are you?
Great.
We're doing great.
Thanks for having us, Bryan.
So I have siblings, and my first question is, I don't know that I could go into business with my siblings, but you guys are doing a really good job of this right now. To either one of you, how's the chemistry of working with your sibling?
Lisa, you want to take that?
Sure. I mean, Alex and I, obviously, we've been brother and sister our whole lives, but we've been business partners for, I don't even know how many years we should say. I'll probably date us. But the good news is we have different skill sets that we bring to the table. So we usually stay in our own lanes and we don't necessarily cross over. And if one of us cross over, then the other one kind of calls the other one out. But there are definitely benefits to working with your siblings because I say I could tell in any given meeting just by like the tip of Alex's head exactly what he's thinking and kind of where he's going with things. And, I think the other thing is our parents always taught us, growing up in a family business that it's not about you, it's about the business. So check your ego at the door. And that's how we operate.
That's good. So Lisa, what are your skill sets? What do you handle in the organization?
Well, I think just overall, I tend to be, we'll say, a little bit more on the people side and kind of more on the creative side with marketing. And those are the areas that I enjoy and I think I'm good at. And Alex, why don't you share about you?
Yeah, I've been more on the platform level. So business strategy, finance, platform building, governance, architecture, capitalization. So those are how we kind of divide up the roles. But kind of to the point, it's unique, but it's worked over the decades across multiple businesses. And I think one thing about working with a relative, or in this case, a sibling like Lisa, she's incredibly talented in her own right. And our relationship has just a fundamental based on trust. And that's something that can be difficult to find in business across the decades, across different priorities and incentives. We've always been able to have that trust and loyalty to each other that's allowed us to, create an environment where it's like 1 + 1 = 3 or 1 + 1 = 5, like Lisa likes to say.
That's what I like to say. Thank you.
Now, your family started a swimwear company too. So you've had entrepreneurial business in your blood your whole life.
Yeah, we our dad is originally from India, so he came here to go to college. Met our mom, who was a Southern California beach girl, and fell in love and was the only one out of, I think, 8 brothers and sisters not to have an arranged marriage. And they've been married 60 years. They just celebrated this year 60 years. And they've been entrepreneurs. They started with a swimwear company that they kind of fell into. Our dad came out to California to hopefully go into aerospace engineering, and there was a freeze. And so he ended up taking a job at a women's swimwear company in Manhattan Beach as a production engineer. And after a few years, then my mom joined him and they said, we could do this. Let's start a business. So they borrowed some money from our grandma and built up this business. And then Alex and I came into the business and we took it digital, we took it global, and then we sold it to private equity, which was a mutual family decision. Alex, I don't know if you want to add anything to that as well.
Yeah,
or maybe
I think being in an entrepreneurial family, it's been something that's been great for Lisa and I, learning the lessons and understanding the conversations from an early age about how business works. We've always had a very long-term mindset in how to build things patiently over time and allow, we always say pull is worth 1,000 pushes. So you kind of have to understand the timing of markets and understand, not everything's going to go your way all the time. It's, I was listening to a podcast about Michael Jordan, where he talks about why he's successful is because he's failed he's missed 9,000 shots and took 26 shots at the end of the game that missed, but it's through all of those opportunities to not achieve the success or not get what you want that you learn how to win. And that takes time and reps. So we learned those lessons from our parents, and they were able to be great role models for us over the decades. And it started in swimwear, but they were able to expand their portfolio of businesses, and did a lot in real estate development, and so kind of all of that, and always had an interest in the sports business. Our mom played golf at UCLA and kind of grew up as an athlete, multi-sport athlete, actually, back before that was really a thing for women, and was a pioneer in a lot of ways. So that was the her background in sports, her dad's love of American culture, the fact that we played sports growing up and really loved it. That was something that united the family in a common bond around not just sports, but also the business of sports. And it was something that like really spurred a lot of conversation. So long story short, that's what led us into being investors across multiple sports teams now.
Lisa, I'm going to go back to you before we talk about the Thorns and the Fire. Before this, you both had experience, part owners of the Sacramento Kings. What did that experience teach you to kind of prepare you for being the owners of the Thorns and the Fire now?
Well, I think the roots of our family in sports actually goes back a little bit farther than that. In the late 80s and early 90s, with the World League of American Football, where our parents purchased the first franchise, the Orlando Thunder. And, back then it was our dad just calling up the NFL league office and saying, "Hey, I'm interested in this," after he read an article in the LA Times. It's a little different nowadays. But when Alex and I were growing up, I think we had that experience, our family did, and realized that having sports as a business is a really interesting, fun thing to do. And we could contribute a lot to it. So I think when we sold our swimwear business to private equity, then we looked at opportunity and landed with the Sacramento Kings, where our dad is vice chair and alternate governor, and then Alex is on the executive board. So that was about 14 years ago. And Alex, you might be better at answering this question than I am too, because you've had a little bit more exposure at the executive board level.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an incredible experience. It was a great time to get into the NBA. If you think back 14, 15 years ago, although very successful business in its own right, it was really just starting a massive growth spurt with international opportunities, the new media deals, the collective bargaining agreement, which has now recently been renewed. But there were a lot of tailwinds to the business. So we saw it first and foremost. We love basketball and always have been fans of basketball, but also saw an incredible opportunity for growth. And I mean, it's grown so much over the time that we've been involved. It's been incredible learning experience. And I think out not just within the basketball side of it and the media rights and the stardom and all that kind of stuff, the ability to impact a community is something that brings a lot of joy to us and a lot of pride, with the development of the Golden One Center in downtown Sacramento and the district around it called Doco, that has a hotel and restaurants and retail shops, a sports medicine complex. I mean, it's really helped to revitalize the entire city. It's been great for the city, great for the community, great for the ownership group, and to see a business that can have that kind of impact on people, it's really, really rewarding. So that's probably, I would say, the biggest lesson that I've learned through our time as investors in the Sacramento Kings, is how powerful a sports asset can be in bringing people together in a community.
Well, you're certainly doing that here in Portland. I live in Portland. I've seen this firsthand. I've been to lots of other sporting events around the country, and there's something about Portland being the epicenter for women's sports. And you've got the two prime teams here, the Thorns, who, as I said, have won 3 championships. The Fire, this is their first season. I think the Thorns have set the attendance record for 9 of the 12 seasons. So they really are the blueprint for the NWSL. The Fire have come in and done such a great job so far. But it's unique that one ownership group owns 2 different teams, one from the NWSL and one from the WNBA. You have this Kaiser Permanente Performance Center that you're building, so everything is going to be housed on one campus. This is to either one of you. I'm interested in the synergies that exist because you have everything under one roof.
Yeah, we're very excited about the synergies that will happen with both teams, and we were very thoughtful with the design with the Kaiser Permanente Performance Center. I know when we started off, I think I was the only, or maybe one out of two females in the room that were, as we were talking about the design and what we're looking for, and I said, should we consider doing these locker rooms the same way they've always been done? Let's like rethink this through the lens of, through the female lens. So I will be very excited when everybody gets to see inside. It is different. It's very different than probably how a lot of men's performance centers will be. But the magic, I think, will be having the cross-pollination between the teams. We were very thoughtful in the spaces where the teams interact. So they have separate dressing rooms. We call them dressing rooms because this is actually where players get dressed to go to work and be professional. Right. And it's a little bit different than locker room behavior and locker room talk and things that go along with it. So they have separate dressing rooms, obviously separate facilities and film rooms. And basketball ops will have a separate office than soccer ops. But the areas where they come together are, in the gym and fitness area. We have separated areas for performance and recovery, and then also they come together in the dining room. So that was done on purpose so that the players can interact and kind of learn from each other. Right now, our GMs of both teams, they talk pretty much daily. And, this is still a new landscape with women's sports. The WNBA is only 30 years old. NWSL will be 15 years old next year. And we're making, we're building the plane as we're flying it, not only at the team level, but it's still with the leagues. And this is a really unique opportunity to cross-pollinate with everything from, fitness and recovery and learning about women's bodies, where only 6% of the medical research has been done, to, learning different techniques for how we, show up on the pitch or on the court, to, all the different idiosyncrasies that working with female athletes kind of bring up. I feel like female athletes a lot of times want to know why. And that may be also a difference. So if you just explain why, then, we all come together. But, as women, we're curious.
That's fantastic. Alex, I want to ask you about the marketing effort. So you've got this collection of potential season ticket holders and customers in the Portland area. I would imagine there's probably some crossover, people who want to go to both Fire and Thorns matches. Do you see that? And, you don't have to give me specific numbers, but are a lot of people going to both, or are they kind of separate communities?
I love answering this question because it's whenever you give the answer, people tend to be surprised. It's 7% crossover.
That's it.
That's it.
Oh, I'm surprised. Count me amongst us.
Yeah. It's really great. It's really amazing. We had about a month ago, we had a doubleheader in Portland. You may recall we had a Thorns game at 1 p.m. and then at 5 p.m. we had a Fire game. Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever were coming in. We had over 20,000 in Providence Park for the Thorns, and then we had about an hour to kind of make it over to Moda Center, and there were another 19,500 sold out at the Moda Center. So we had almost 40,000 people across two different sports between the Thorns match and the Fire game coming to see women's sports, and there's not that much crossover, and you can really see it. You actually asked the question around synergies, and of course there's some synergies in the business around kind of the back office and the HR and the finance and some of that kind of thing, but each team is its own brand, it's its own club, it has its own culture, its own fully staffed positions, and you can feel it right away. The soccer club and even at the business ops level, like you feel it, you're in a soccer environment. And then you kind of walk across the hall and you're talking to the Fire people, and there's a totally different culture and attitude. But at the same time, the organizations can talk to each other and they could say, oh, that's interesting. How did you do that? Or, we tried this and it didn't work. And it's that organic conversation between the two sides of the house that can really create something special and service our customers and service our fans, which are sure there's some crossover, but it's a very different sport with very different fan base.
Lisa, I want to ask you about community. Do you think that people are coming together? Obviously, excuse me, there's basketball and soccer fans, but then it seems like in Portland, people just want to be a community. They want to be together. They want to visit with their friends. They want to bring their families. How much of that are you seeing at Thorns and Fire games?
Well, I think that's an interesting thing about women's sports in general is that it's very, very family oriented. I mean, we just completed our girl dad night over at the Thorns. So we had girl dad scarves and hats, and we're celebrating. It's a different generation now that dads can bring their daughters to a game, and the daughters can see aspirational, what their lives could look like aspirationally by being a professional athlete. So we do see a lot of families, and I think the interesting thing about sports in general is that we live in this world where social media, what we all see on our phones with our own Instagram or social media feeds is individualized. And there's only a couple areas in this world where you come together and you have that shared experience. And sports is one of those. So we love celebrating our families and, families, especially in the Portland area, they are comprised differently, and whatever different beliefs you have, this is where we all come together. And it's very exciting.
Now, it's great to see. I love whenever I haven't been to a Fire game yet, but I will. And
You need to come.
I will. And I've been to many Thorns games with my daughter when she was younger. So I'm a girl dad.
You're a girl dad.
Awesome.
I'm a girl dad. I want to talk to you about something else that you guys are doing that's really great is Epicenter Week. And you do this in conjunction with Nike. It's a few days of conversations. You have people on stage who are discussing best practices, but it's really kind of like become the women's sports summit to go to in America. I know you're continuing to grow this. This is for either one of you. Why has it been important to get behind this and, continue to grow this event?
Alex, why don't you? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I can start. So it is something that we're passionate about, and when we first invested in the teams, then we set this as a marker. We want to create a week that we can celebrate Portland and bring the community together and have that broader conversation around women's sports. I mean, it is, like you said, it's a very unique circumstance to have the women's soccer team and a women's basketball team in the same market with the same ownership group, and importantly with Nike in the backyard, which is one of the biggest firepowers in the world of sports. So that combination, bringing it together, we thought we can establish a platform to have a conversation to help accelerate the growth of women's sports in a meaningful way, and importantly, do something that celebrates Portland, bringing people to the marketplace of Portland and help show off how it's such an incredible place to live, and in the summertime, how vibrant the city is, and really just help to change the perception, which, as we all know, we continue to advance in Portland in a number of ways, and we want to help shed, whatever negative funk there was from a previous era, and by having a summit of bringing in people from all around the country, all around the world, in fact. It helps to highlight all the great things that Portland has to offer.
Lisa, I would ask you, and I ask this to any owner I have on this show, how would you describe Portland as a sports market? I ask, whatever market I'm talking to, because we have listeners around the world, they may not be familiar with Portland as a sports market. How would you describe it?
Well, that's one of the reasons why we invested in Portland, because the fans are insatiable. This is literally one of the best fan bases I think we've ever seen. And, when I first came up to Portland and went to a Thorns game, it was the Thorns versus Seattle. It was Megan Rapinoe's last game, and there were over 25,000 people there. And I took a video of it. I was there with my husband and my son. Alex was still at home. I took a video and came home the next day and actually showed my mom and my dad. And my mom's like, are there people way up there? And I said, yeah, look, they're way up there. And she was like, this is unbelievable. And my dad said, I really believe in women's sports. But again, going back to what Alex tapped on, the fact that Nike Global Headquarters is in Portland, Adidas North America headquarters and some of the other sports brands, this has been the sports marketing and lifestyle capital of the world for so many years. And I think that it's ingrained in everyone in Portland. People in Portland love their sports. And we are just here you may have heard me say, we look at ourselves as not necessarily owners, but stewards of two beloved community assets. And it's our job to listen to people in the community, learn from them, and do the best that we can in steering these franchises towards more championships for the Thorns and playoffs, and hopefully some championships down the line for the Fire.
I want to talk about sponsorships for a minute. It would seem like you have a good opportunity to bring on sponsors who could sponsor both teams, or do you keep that separate too? And you've got some great sponsors already. Alaska Airlines and many other blue chip companies have aligned with the Thorns and the Fire. Do you keep them separate, or is there, hey, you get twice the bang for your buck because we're going to put you in both places?
It's a great question.
This is where you hear me say 1 + 1 = 5, by the way.
Okay.
That's a common theme with our team.
Okay.
Alex, go ahead.
Yeah, we have the fulfillment within each team. So each team has their own partnership group that activates the partnerships to really ensure that we're delivering value to our corporate partnerships, and it's a win-win for both parties. On the outreach part and the business development part, then it is important that we're speaking with one voice, and we have two separate assets that are platforms for opportunity. But it would be a little weird if one person was calling on XYZ company and then we had a second call from somebody else. But I think that strategy's worked really, really well. I mean, we've talked about how that corporate partnership, the amount of dollars that have shifted from men's to women's is really remarkable. Just a couple of years ago, it was 99% of the corporate partnership spending was in men's sports and 1% was in women's. And it's really starting to shift. And you see that across the board, across the teams, across the leagues. And we've certainly been beneficiaries of that. And that was a really critical focus for us as we invested into the teams, is like, what can we do to be welcoming to corporate partnership opportunities? Because that revenue that comes in, it really services the whole ecosystem and allows us to grow our businesses and invest more into the community and invest more into players and staffing. And we've been very successful in that. In the 2 years since we've acquired the Thorns, we've increased the corporate partnerships by 600%. So Wow. It's really, really remarkable. It's some real numbers. And the Fire has been really well received by the corporate partnership community. We're doing not just with local companies too. We're attracting whether it's Ring, Lashify, Chime, like Alaska Airlines. We have a big AI deal that we'll be announcing very shortly. Like real companies that have national platforms are investing into Portland, and I think that's a testament to what the Portland market is for sports, and especially as the global epicenter of women's sports. It's something that allows a mid-sized city like Portland to really kind of punch above its weight and be a national presence.
I'm always interested what sponsors and media partners are telling you about. These are the three most important things that we want from a partnership. Obviously, like exposure, maybe access to the players. What are you hearing from media partners and from sponsors for what they want for being partners with your teams?
I think that, with some of these partners, it's not necessarily what they're asking for, but it's how we're looking at things differently.
Okay.
So we have community, for instance, as an aspect of all of our partnership agreements. And you get so much more when you can interact with the community and I think build brand loyalty that way. So, for instance, we have the Empower Her Awards that are part of Epicenter Week, and this will be celebrating girls and women in Portland that have done amazing things within kind of the world of women's sports. And we also have Her Voice Council. So we're kind of custom creating these packages to work individually with our partners. I think the other thing, as Alex touched on, is these national and global brands that are coming to Portland. We love our businesses in Portland. We love the partnerships that we have from the local companies, but we're bringing in these extra dollars. We're bringing in attention from these national and global brands, and many of them haven't been in sports or women's sports before. Even Lashify coming in as our front of jersey with the Portland Fire is very exciting because this is their first foray into sports. And at the end of the day, let's face it, the data shows that women are the chief decision makers in the household with all of the buying decisions, or I think it's something like 80% of them. So this is where they are. Any smart marketer is going to realize what's happening in women's sports.
I'm interested. So I come from the NBA. I used to work for the Blazers a long time ago, and the NBA has Teambo, and it's, set up for sharing best practices amongst the team. Do the WNBA and NWSL have Teambo type organizations that help you guys share best practices? Because, what you're talking about, Angel City FC, I've had them on, and they put in their contracts when they started, hey, if you're going to be a sponsor, you need to do things in the community with us as well. And it's great that you're doing that as well, but it seems like there's best practices to be shared amongst the teams in each league.
I think the leagues are getting there in both the NWSL and the WNBA. It's still early stages. There's so much on the docket of things to do within both leagues, but I would say the NWSL is even earlier in its growth stage, and a lot of building is happening now. So those structures and those procedures and best practices are just starting to be implemented. And I think it's fair to say, if we rewind the clock just 3 or 4 years ago, there was a question about whether the NWSL was going to make it as a league.
Right.
And now it's like, we're so far past that. Now we're at the point where, like, how big can this get, and how sustainable is the model for the long-term future for the clubs, and how can we continue to be and cement our position as the top league in the world. So all of those aspects that the big leagues like the NBA have learned over time and created these practices and best policies and guardrails, that's just now starting to enter a league like the NWSL, but it's definitely coming. And I think Lisa and I would both, it's fair to say that we're really optimistic about the league, and it's fun to be a part of, because we do have a voice and a hand in helping to construct what it's going to look like in the future.
Yeah, and I think.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I think that also, you look around the boardroom at the NWSL, and of course, the WNBA has a lot of NBA governors as well.
Right.
But specifically at the NWSL, the boardroom has changed so much, even in the past 2.5 years since we've been involved. And it is a really great group of people. And there are a lot of people who have ownership in other sports leagues that are bringing that knowledge to the table. So whether it's NFL or NBA or, some of the other sports, it is leveling up very, very quickly.
It's a great point. I know we only have a couple minutes left. I would be remiss if I didn't ask one of you. We're just wrapping up World Cup. And to me, all of my friends are like going crazy for soccer right now. I would have to think that this has helped generate more interest in soccer in the United States, because everyone's been talking about this World Cup. And I know it's men. The women, I've had Emma Hayes on this show. Obviously, you have Sophia Wilson on your team, who is a star of the U.S. women's national team. But are you hearing from fans and customers and just people in the community how excited they are for soccer right now?
I think we're fortunate to be in Soccer City. I mean, Portland was ahead of the curve, always embraced soccer as a as a great sport with a huge fan base in Portland, and it continues to grow. And now over time, it continues to grow and grow and grow. And like you said, that's all anybody's talking about right now. It's been a lot of fun this summer. I know both Lisa and I have had a chance to go to some of the games, and what an incredible experience. I took my son, and I think it will be a lifetime memory for us. And I can say that for kind of my friend group, we're so excited about the future of soccer in the U.S. and the American women are gonna. I don't know if I want to make any predictions on a podcast, but it's fair to say we will do better than the men.
Yes, and they always have. And I've said that and had many of them on this show. Before I let you go, Lisa, you guys have Rose City Sportsnet. This is also very unique. Tell us about what you're doing there.
Yes. Well, this is the first and only women's sports destination channel in women's sports with Rose City Sportsnet. So we have both the Thorns and the Fire home games that will be broadcast there, as well as the shoulder content. So things like shows with the coaches and behind the scenes information. But again, it's just another aspect of what we're doing to further cement Portland as the global epicenter of women's sports.
Alex Bhathal, Lisa Bhathal Merage, thank you so much for joining me on Sports Business Radio. Continued success to you both.
Thank you so much for
Bryan.
having us, Bryan.